Hello and welcome back to the channel Understanding Concepts of Physics. Hope you have subscribed my channel. In case you haven't done so, kindly go and subscribe the channel. Today we are going to start a series of videos in which we are going to see what are the types of different kind of thermodynamic processes. So there are so many kinds of processes we are going to see, and we are going to see work done in a kind of a thermodynamic process. So let's get quickly started. In this video we are going to discuss only two kinds of thermodynamic process. Let's begin. So types of thermodynamic process. The first is irreversible process, or it is also called as unidirectional process. So it's a irreversible. So the name itself suggests that it is not, we are not going to get the reverse of what we are doing. So unidirectional process, it's a one directional process, so you cannot get it back. So what does it mean? It means that the process which do not restore their initial state. So if you do not know what the state is, kindly go and watch previous videos in the playlist of thermodynamics. So the process which do not restore the initial state of the system along the same path. Okay, so the process which do not restore their initial state along the same path is called as an irreversible process. So if suppose we have a thermodynamic process in which we have some value of pressure, volume and temperature, and suppose in case a system goes from some initial state to final state, some final state, and we are not able to get the initial and final to initial back along the same path, then we say that the process is irreversible. More on this and you will understand what I am trying to say. Now keep watching till the end. Examples. The first is bursting of tires. So once the tire is bursted, definitely you won't be able to go back to the original system, the initial state, along the same path. Same way it was burning of candle. Once the candle is burnt, you won't be able to reach to the initial state by the same path. And same it goes for rusting of iron. If you see, iron rusts after some time due to moisture and climatic conditions. You won't be able to turn the rust again back to iron. Now every process has their own indicator diagram. An indicator diagram, as we have discussed in the previous video, is nothing but the PV graph. So the PV graph is what is called as an indicator diagram. Now the indicator diagram for irreversible process is something like this. So we have a pressure on the y-axis and the volume on the x-axis. On the x-axis we have meter cube, that is the volume, the unit, and the pressure has an SI unit of Newton per meter square. Now just watch that. Okay, if A is my initial state, A is my initial state and B is my final state, and definitely it is having some values of volume and pressure. So it's VI, PI, where VI and PI stands for initial volume and initial pressure, and B is my final state, so I'll write as VF, PF. So final volume, final pressure. So my system goes from A, that is initial state, to the final state B along this path, and when it comes back from the final state to its initial state, it comes from another path. So you'll see this is the another path. Now such process is called as an irreversible process. See, mind you, this is not the thing that we are just going to the initial state. It's all about going from the same path. So if you are going from the same path, then definitely it's a reversible process. Otherwise it will be an irreversible process. So this is all about irreversible process. Let's go to the next one, that is the reversible process. Now reversible process, what this is, the process which restores the initial state. So it is exactly the same thing but along the same path. Earlier in the irreversible process, which was like from a different path or from along the different path, then we said irreversible process. So the process which restores the initial state of the system along the same path is called as a reversible process. The process which restores the initial state of the system along the same path is called as a reversible process. Let's see. The example is melting of ice. So if you place an ice on a table, then definitely after some time it is going to melt. And freezing of water. So if you freeze that water, you will go back to its original states. So this is what a reversible process looks like. And the indicator diagram for a reversible process would look something like this. Again, this is the indicator diagram, and indicator diagram is a graph which is showing the values of pressure and volume. So I have this pressure on the y-axis and the volume on the x-axis. The units have been mentioned. However, units is not relevant over here. The nature of the graph will not change according to the units. A is my initial state and B is my final state. So if a system goes from an initial state to a final state and then back to its initial state from along the same path, then we call this process as a reversible process. So it was having some initial volume, initial pressure, it was having some final volume, final pressure, but if you are able to go from the initial state and the final state along the same path, we call it as a reversible process. Okay, so this is what all about reversible and irreversible processes. We are going to discuss a lot of processes in the coming videos, and keep watching the videos. In case you have not subscribed, subscribe the channel. Thank you so much. Bye.